How can a life so full of kindness and love take such a dark and horrific turn? Chanti Dixon, a 30-year-old mother of two, was cherished by everyone who knew her. She was a shining star, radiating warmth, laughter, and a nurturing spirit. But on a September morning in 2024, Chanti's life met a devastating end when her body was found in the woods behind her home, unresponsive and tragically taken too soon. Welcome back to True Crime Files Edition. Today we explore the heartbreaking case of Chanti Dixon, whose loving nature was shattered by a terrifying act of violence committed by the very Uber driver she had trusted to take her home. This is Chanti's story, a narrative of lost innocence and unfathomable betrayal. Chanti Dixon was born in 1994 to Rise Dixon, and from the moment she arrived, her family recognized a special light in her. She was described as a shining star, and as a child, her natural kindness and caring spirit were evident. Ever since she was a little girl, she had a way of making others feel valued and loved. She had a magnetic personality that drew people in, and even as a young child, she showed an innate ability to connect with others. Chanti's compassion and warmth extended to anyone fortunate enough to cross her path, and she effortlessly formed friendships that lasted throughout her life. By the age of 30, Chanti was not only a beloved daughter and friend, but also a dedicated mother to two wonderful children, a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. Her devotion to her children was profound, and she worked tirelessly to provide them with a nurturing and positive environment. Chanti's family described her as always being full of love and positivity, constantly offering encouragement and support. She poured her heart into raising her kids, ensuring they knew how deeply they were loved. Her joyful spirit and unwavering dedication to her family left a mark on everyone who knew her, and her home was filled with warmth, laughter, and love. Chanti's personality and warmth touched many lives, and she was cherished by her family, friends, and community. She was the kind of person whose presence brought comfort and whose smile could brighten the darkest of days. People who knew Chanti often described her as having an unmatched spirit, a combination of love, kindness, resilience, and positivity. Her ability to care deeply and spread happiness impacted everyone she met. However, despite her light and the positivity she brought to the world, Chanti's life took an unexpected turn on September 8, 2024. This sudden shift would cast a shadow over the lives of her loved ones, who were left grappling with the loss and uncertainty that followed, trying to make sense of the tragic change that altered everything they knew about their shining star. Chanti Dixon was last seen or heard from on Sunday, September 7, 2024. She was expected to be home after her late shift at work, but her family grew increasingly concerned when she did not arrive and failed to respond to multiple calls and texts. Her mother, Rise Dixon, along with other family members, felt an overwhelming sense that something was wrong. The worry led them to take matters into their own hands, and they decided to track Chanti's phone in the hope of finding her whereabouts. What they discovered next was something none of them could have prepared for. The tracking led them to the woods behind Chanti's home, and the sight that awaited them was devastating. They found her body lying in the wooded area and immediately called the police. It was around 1 p.m. on September 8th when officers from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department received the distressing call and arrived at the scene on the 1800 block of Wagner Lane. The responding officers discovered a woman's body in a nearby wooded area. Chanti was found lying on her stomach, unresponsive and unclothed, her condition indicating that something horrific had occurred. The officers worked quickly to secure the scene, and the woman, later identified as Chanti Dixon, was pronounced dead where she was found. The coroner's report later revealed that she had suffered a single gunshot wound to the left side of her head. It was a chilling discovery for her family, who had only hours before hoped to reunite with Chanti. The confirmation that the body was indeed Chanti's left her mother utterly heartbroken. The pain was palpable as Rise told the officers that the young woman lying before them was her daughter. who had been missing since the early hours of Sunday morning. Rise also shared with the officers what she knew of Chanti's movements before her disappearance. Chanti had finished her shift at work at approximately 3:30 a.m. and had ordered an Uber to get home. However, once she left work, no one had heard from her, and all attempts to contact her went unanswered. This sequence of events raised numerous questions and left Chanti's family and investigators searching for answers about what had happened during those critical hours between her leaving work and the tragic discovery of her body. As the investigation into Chanti Dixon's death unfolded, officers from IMPD discovered 2 cell phones in the wooded area near where her body was found. Both phones were identified as belonging to Chanti, and her mother, Risa Dixon, provided the passcodes. With this information, detectives began retracing Chanti's final movements. The records showed that Chanti had ordered an Uber at 3:34 a.m. from the 2300 block of West 16th Street. During the ride, she made one stop along Washington Street before being driven to her home address on Earhart Street. Detectives noted that the ride was marked as completed at around 4:05 a.m. The app also showed a tip of $5 given to the driver. The records indicated that the driver was using a BMW with an Indiana license plate. Investigators identified the Uber driver as 29-year-old Francisco Valadez, residing on Aristocrat Circle. They also learned that the BMW was registered to one of Valadez's relatives. With this information in hand, detectives went to Valadez's residence to question him about Chanti's disappearance and subsequent death. Valadez initially confirmed that he had picked up Chanti early Sunday morning, but he insisted that nothing unusual had happened during the ride. However, when confronted with evidence by the police, Valadez began to change his story. He then claimed that after dropping Chanti off, he had heard a gunshot. Valadez further stated that he returned home at around 5:30 a.m. and called IMPD's non-emergency line to report the incident, although the investigators could find no record of this call. As the questioning continued, Valadez added more details, alleging that an armed black man had approached his car and attempted to rob Chanti. According to Valadez, the suspect shot Chanti in the thigh, and she managed to kick herself out of the car before he fled the scene. He also admitted to cleaning blood out of his car afterwards. This new version of events raised more questions for investigators, particularly given Valadez's changing accounts and the absence of any records supporting his story. Detectives also interviewed Valadez's mother, who revealed that her son owned a firearm and regularly carried it. She mentioned that he had recently cleaned out his car and the items he used were still at their home. Acting on this information, the detectives searched Valadez's room, where they discovered bloody rags and a Walther PPX 9mm handgun. These discoveries became critical pieces of evidence in the case, pointing towards Valadez's possible involvement in Chanti's death. The inconsistencies in his story, combined with the physical evidence found at his residence, left investigators determined to uncover the truth of what happened to Chanti Dixon and bring justice to her grieving family. Detectives took Francisco Valadez to the IMPD homicide office, where he agreed to speak without the presence of a lawyer. During the interview, Valadez offered several different versions of events, further complicating the investigation. Detectives then confronted him with the evidence showing that Chanti Dixon had been shot in the head, not in the thigh, as he had previously claimed. Faced with this information, Valadez changed his story yet again. "Okay, I shot her in the head," Valadez admitted to the detectives. He attempted to justify his actions by saying it was self-defense. Valadez went on to claim that Chanti had been hitting him in the head while he was driving and that he grabbed his gun from the driver's side door and shot over his shoulder in response. He claimed that after shooting her, he dumped her body behind a concrete block on Wagner Lane, emphasizing that she was still clothed at the time and that he knew nothing about what happened after he left her there. The police were not convinced by Valadez's changing stories and continued to press him for the truth. Eventually, Valadez confessed to what had really transpired, He admitted that he was a 30-year-old virgin who had offered Chanti money to take his virginity. When she laughed at his body, it enraged him, leading him to shoot her in the head in a fit of anger. His admission shed light on the tragic series of events that led to Chanti's untimely death. Valadez then recounted the aftermath of the shooting. He confessed to dragging Chanti's lifeless body out of his car and placing her behind a concrete barrier at the dead end of Wagner Lane. Valadez also admitted to attempting to have sex with her corpse before disposing of her belongings. He threw Chanti's cell phones and wallet into the nearby woods, where they were ultimately discovered by her family days later. His confession revealed a horrifying truth about what Chanti had endured in her final moments. Following this confession, Valadez was taken into custody by IMPD and subsequently booked into the Marion County Jail on a preliminary felony murder charge. He now faces charges including felony murder, attempted rape, and attempted use of a corpse. Valadez is being held without bond as he awaits trial, with a preliminary trial date set for November. The charges brought against him and the disturbing details of his actions have left Chanti's family and community in shock as they seek justice for the loss of their beloved shining star. Our deepest condolences to Chanti's family. May her soul continue to rest in peace. What are your thoughts on Chanti Dixon's tragic story? Do you believe more could have been done to prevent this senseless act of violence? How do you feel about the betrayal of trust by the Uber driver she depended on for safety? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for the latest updates. Stay safe, look out for one another, and I'll see you soon with another compelling true crime story. Until then, goodbye.